Hello, sport fans, and welcome to another fantastic edition of the Cybersecurity Matters podcast. Joining me, as always, is my good friend in crime. Maybe not crime, but good friend, Mr. Christian Redshaw. Christian, how's your day going so far?
I'm doing good, my friend. I would say I'm not always here. I don't always join you because I did have a flat tire one time, and I missed an episode or two. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
Truth be told, I'm not as reliable as you make me out to be.
You're here most of the time, and that's what counts. But I know today we don't have any guest book, but I know you have a topic on your mind, so let's hear it.
Well, actually, it's kind of two topics, sort of related. I want to talk about the SolarWinds incident and the Microsoft Exchange incident. Would you indulge me in just explaining what those incidents were, and maybe just in a very layman's terms, non-technical language for our business leaders out there?
For sure. And definitely won't dive into the deep, gory tech details. But
please don't.
The SolarWinds incident and the more recent Microsoft Exchange vulnerability, those have been probably the two major security stories which have been dominating the news cycle for the past few months, at least since early December. So with SolarWinds, what happened there? So SolarWinds is an IT management company. They provide support tools for many organizations, big and small. And basically what happened in there was that their update mechanism got compromised, apparently by the Russians. And as part of that, the Russians and others would be able to get unauthorized access to servers or to workstations that had a particular version of their software installed. Again, this was very startling for everyone right across the world, and so it goes to show you again how fragile the IT ecosystem is. There's some worries there that people are accessing sensitive data, confidential data. Again, it was seen more through, I'd say, from a risk perspective, about being aimed at various levels of government or very high-profile organizations, not necessarily smaller mid-sized organizations, but there's certainly cause for concern. The more recent one with Microsoft Exchange. So what happened there is anyone who is running Microsoft Exchange on premise, and Exchange, for those of you who don't know, is basically an email system which is capable of basically sending in and out emails into your organization. Basically, within there was a compromise as well, allowing for malicious entities to be able to just basically have carte blanche access to everything in your email servers, and that can be confidential emails, emails containing sensitive data. It was basically, like I said, it was pick your poison, and someone could just pick whatever data they wanted from various email systems. Again, it was this one seems to be tied back to the Chinese and the Chinese government potentially, and in both cases here again there is broader spying and governmental forces at play. This isn't something which was necessarily targeted at smaller mid-sized organizations, although they could be caught up as collateral damage.
So Dom, you bring up a good point here. It's not necessarily targeted at small and mid-sized organizations. What should businesses be doing about this? I mean, how should businesses and nonprofits and even maybe public sector, I'm thinking specifically the leadership, business leaders, IT departments, IT managed service providers. What does it mean for everyone in that kind of grouping or those groupings?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think it's really what's important is to still make sure that you do your due diligence and that you make sure that if you have those systems and either one of those systems in your broader environment, that you at least make sure that you have your technical team address the vulnerability or the weakness, make sure that it's the release security updates have been applied. But then you also do further due diligence, and if you engage like a digital forensics firm as an example, just to make sure that there was no additional data that was stolen, or that some malicious actors or criminals are still hanging around on your network. It is important to make sure that you at least check all the doors and check all the windows to make sure that if there is anyone lurking, that you're able to kick them out. Is it something that you should be panicking about? No, not necessarily, but you definitely need to make sure that you take the right steps and demonstrate that you've double, like I said, you've double checked the locks and doors, and that there's still no one hanging around, and that sensitive data that hasn't been stolen or viewed by unauthorized entities.
Mm-hmm. Because what comes to me is business leaders and organizations might be thinking, this is so widespread. This is something that I don't have much control over. If huge organizations or governments cannot manage their cybersecurity properly, why even bother?
That's such a good point, and again, this is looking at it through the lens in terms of, what's the motivation and who's attacking whom. At the end of the day, if you're a small and mid-sized organization, you should not be worrying about what the Chinese government or the Russian government are trying to do. They're acting in ways in which they can access organizations that they want to access. If you as a small law firm, as an example, not to make you feel bad, but the Russian government doesn't give a damn about you. But who might care about you though, in a bad way, is criminal gangs. The criminal gangs, and this is again why it's so important that small organizations and mid-sized organizations do take notice of this, because these vulnerabilities, which were used, like I said, for maybe governmental or spying purposes, for organizations that don't fix it, cybercrime gangs, they'll take those exploits, they'll take those vulnerabilities, and they'll start monetizing that. They're going to go after organizations who haven't taken the time to address those weaknesses and shore up those vulnerabilities. So although you may not be caught up in the initial wave of the attack, unless you address it in a suitable manner, the cyber criminals, they will take advantage of you. And that's who you should be worrying about, the people who are trying to monetize the weaknesses in these systems. So don't worry about the Russian government, but do worry about the Russian cyber criminal organizations that are coming for you.
Right. Like we always say, don't be the low-hanging fruit. You want to understand what your real risks and real threats are and what your levels of protection are against those threats.
100%, my friend. That's and again, it's all about knowing what you're protecting against. So focus on that and don't get caught up on what the U.S. government is trying to protect. Their risk surface or what they're worrying about is very different than what you as a small business should be worrying about when it comes to cyber risk.
Well said.
So I guess that brings us to the end of our little convo here, and so I just want to make sure that we thank our listeners and viewers for taking time of their day to join Christian and I today. As always, please do check out the Conversations That Matter YouTube page for previous episodes and other podcasts that are under the Conversations That Matter banner. But until next time, be well, be safe, and we'll see you next time on the Cybersecurity Matters podcast.